So I've been thinking a lot about bubbles lately, specifically the bubbles in which we find ourselves, generally speaking, in terms of our thought. Now, as a child, you wouldn't have had the ability to actually imagine, or to be aware of, rather, the fact that you have a different amount of information in your head than everyone else does. This is something we develop as we get older. It's called part of the theory of the mind thing. But as a toddler, for example, if you come in a room, parents will know what I'm talking about, or people with younger siblings, or I guess who have babysat, which is, I guess, most of the population. You come into a room, the toddler, the child has done something, you don't know what it is, but they're acting guilty. The reason they're acting as guilty as they are is because they imagine you already know. Dogs kind of are like this forever. Because they at this point are cognitively incapable, basically, of really internalizing that there's a mind in here and a mind out there. And as we get older, we have this ability. Of course, we seem to use this ability to varying degrees as we get older. Some people don't use it much at all. Some people use it a lot. For example, as the web developer and a Flash and game developer, you often have to imagine what people are going to be bringing to their experience of coming to the website or the game and playing, both in terms of, say, narrative conventions, but just really simple stuff about what buttons to press or whether or not a thing looks like a button. Like there are a lot of people, for example, who say that for every web link you have, or like URL link, I know I said web or URL link, every link you have on your page, you should say, like, click here for something, because let's not assume that everyone understands that the underlined text means click, especially when you have styling on your web page where you actually take the underline off and there's no visible indication that it's a link. So there's those as conventions, and of course, as a web developer, you can easily forget the fact that not everyone realizes that if they mouse over and there's a little thing in the status bar, status bar, that means it's a link. A lot of people don't know these things. A lot of people forget that a lot of people don't know these things. Now, specifically the bubbles I'm talking about in relation to cell phones, kind of. See, I've got a Captivate, Galaxy S Captivate. Love the hell out of it. Great phone, except for the fact that it just restarted twice this morning. Didn't restart this time, which is good. So that's a little, or rather, it shut itself off twice. Strange. Anyway, other than that, great phone. And I have a 3G, although I don't use it anymore because it's my old phone. And there's long been a perception, and it's true to a certain extent in the Mac world, or in the computer world, that people buy Macs because they appreciate great stuff, and they go out of their way to find the nicer product, and they're willing to pay the money, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas people just get Windows because it's just the computer that's there. And so all things being equal, people would say, hey, I'm going to pick the Mac because I understand things. And if you don't pick it, you like I say, you either don't have access or you don't know. You just don't understand, son. But if you could, you would choose it. And a lot of people are assuming that AT&T is going to lose a bunch of customers, which is possible because a lot of people dislike AT&T's service. My own, from everything I see, my take on it is that they will discover that the iPhone is actually a larger part of the problem than people generally assume. And there's a lot of iPhone users smartphone users are bandwidth hogs, data hogs, not Brian hogs, and they will sort of hit the Verizon network in a way that the Verizon network hasn't really been hit before, even though it's larger. And hopefully they're prepared for that, but who knows, right? So I don't think the performance gains will be as significant as anyone thinks, but that's really not the point. Imagine that I were a Verizon customer, and I'm in the wrong country to be a Verizon customer, but let's pretend and say that I was a Verizon customer, and then I had this lovely phone, and I just got it 3 months ago. And I would say, because now the iPhone is available, that I would want to get rid of this phone and get this phone. Now, this would require me financially to pay out of cycle several $100s for this thing. Now, they actually have a discount, so you only have to pay like $300 or something. But that's still a good chunk of change, and upping your contract, which maybe you want to do, maybe you don't want to do. God, this is rambly. I'm so sorry. This is so rambly. So anyway, there's presumption here on the part of these analysts and really huge Apple fans is that millions of people will be willing to spend an extra few $100s to replace a smartphone that they probably like with another smartphone that they will love, because the people who picked Android are doing so because they just wanted the iPhone and they just couldn't get it. And I think, to me personally, this shows the sort of insular, in-the-bubble thinking of a lot of these people, where I think the reality is, for some people, that will be what they do. You go into an electronics superstore, they've got tables of phones, and you just look at them, right? I mean, it's just a visual thing. Now, some people are going to come in, with an idea that, oh, I want to get an iPhone, or oh, I've heard of this other phone. But a lot of people, I think, are just going to go in and say, hey, which one looks cool to me? And people who are like really deeply invested in a brand or in an ideology or in whatever just assume that everyone who partakes of it has an equal level of investment, and that's kind of a weird line of thinking. Why would everyone who uses an Apple product, say, who has for 20 years and has the Stockholm syndrome, assume that like some 17-year-old who just thinks the phone looks awesome is going to have the same level of commitment? And why would they think that someone who walks in and just happens to think that the Captivate looks awesome is going to suddenly, because the iPhone is here, think, oh, that is necessarily more awesome. You know, I am a smartphone customer, therefore I must want the iPhone. And then it's also an interesting rationalization in that specific case, because it's sort of, you know, I actually know a lot of people who believe that very seriously, that if everyone was made aware of Apple products and how great they are, no one would choose anything but an Apple product, ignoring the whole personal preference angle and a lot of other things. I like to try to remember that most people don't care about technology. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go let my dog in, who she's sort of scratching to get into the door that's over there. I guess subscribe to me if you're watching this on a YouTube thing. I feel weird asking that, but, you know, whatever, subscribe to me. And tell people about me, I guess. Sure. I guess I'll put Twitter links and crap in the sidebar, which is... I don't know which side it's on. I didn't figure that out before recording it.